Injury reports are out. We've got our rankings up to date. We've got some news for you. We are going to dive into some week 2 starts and sits here. But before we start hitting these questions in the chat, do us a favor, drop us a thumbs up so some other people can see this video. Start dropping your questions in the chat. Zare, I am happy for you that you are taking care of your personal hygiene, but I don't need to know that you're in the shower right now, man. Just tell us that you're tuning in. We're happy to see you here. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump in. I want to run through the injury report really quickly here, and we are joined with Alfredo Brown and Adam Hutchison to help us break all of this down. First things first, we're going to go through the outs, which there are quite a few of. D'Onta Foreman, kind of a surprising healthy scratch today against Tampa Bay. He is not going to play, so wheels up for Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. Just 2 active running backs that should be a little bit better than last week, hopefully. Jacoby Myers is out with a concussion against Buffalo. And then be sure you got J.K. Dobbins, Jelani Woods, Noah Gray, all on IR out of your lineup in these early games. We also got news that Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, and Austin Eckler, who were all not expected to play, are all officially out. So let's break this one down real quickly. Christian Watson and Aaron Jones, the 2 biggest names for the Green Bay Packers, are both out. Alfredo, start us off here. Who does this open up opportunities for, if anybody?
I mean, it's got to open up opportunities for A.J. Dillon, right? Like, it's just, this is the name of the game when it comes to running back is volume. And even if it's not the most efficient volume, you're hoping for big man A.J. Dillon to fall into the end zone, get some of those targets. Actually, a lot of those targets that Aaron Jones was getting last week. So yeah, I'm pretty high on A.J. Dillon this week.
And then Adam, want to throw this to you as well. Romeo Doubs, he was limited last week. Only saw, I think it was 47, 49% of the snaps, but did a lot with those opportunities. 5 targets, 2 touchdowns. If he is expected to be a full go, full participant in Friday's practice with a bigger snap share, do you think anything holds him back now? We saw him limited last week with a hamstring. Are you expecting him to be a full go in today's game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with limited snaps, like you said, he scored 2 touchdowns. I was a little bit lower on him last week, but again, given the circumstances with Aaron Jones and Christian Watson out, I think if you got Romeo Doubs, it's hard to keep him out of your starting lineup.
Yeah, I like Dobbs and Dillon. I think the only downside really is that this could be a slow-paced game, maybe 25, 30 offensive plays for each team if both teams really commit to the run game. But yeah, start up your A.J. Dillon and Romeo Doubs this week. In these late games, we've got Wan'Dale Robinson out with a knee. He was looking at a possible return coming off last year's ACL tear, but not going to be able to make it for this week against Arizona. Brandon Cooks also out with a knee against the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, Greg Dulcich, Cooper Kupp, all in the late window, still on IR, so hopefully we can see them back at some point this season. Tonight, we've got Jeff Wilson out on IR with this undisclosed. Remind me, Alfredo, it was like an abdomen, oblique, finger. It was like a bunch of random different injuries that all landed him on IR, right?
Yeah, the injury was playing football. Like that's what it was. That's what it sounds like.
And then unlikely, this is what I want to break down. We'll get to this a little bit later in the show, Adam, but Devontae Parker is just kind of confusing right now, looking like a possible game time decision tonight. And then Amari Cooper and George Pickens tomorrow night. We'll get into those a little bit later. But for the early slate today, in the Cincinnati-Baltimore game, Joe Burrow is off the injury report, so he'll be good to go with that calf injury that looked like it may have hampered him a little bit last week. We got Mark Andrews active with his quad injury. Adam, I want to break this down a little bit. Mark Andrews didn't play last week, was kind of limited all week in practice today. They're saying he's active with this quad injury. Should we expect full go Mark Andrews, top 2 tight end, or are you tempering expectations a little bit?
Maybe tempering expectations, but if you got Mark Andrews, we're playing him, baby. We are playing Mark Andrews. Especially, we talked about on last week's show, tight end landscape's been kind of ugly. If you drafted Mark Andrews, you drafted him early, you got to play him. Fire him up.
Yep, completely agree there. In the Indianapolis-Houston game, there are a lot of guys on the injury report throughout the week. Zach Moss, John Mechie, Dalton Schultz, Robert Woods, C.J. Stroud, but they are all active, all playing today. Adam, throwing it back to you again. C.J. Stroud, dealing with a shoulder injury. There was some word that Davis Mills might be getting the start today. If you're in a super flex or a 2-quarterback league, are you firing up C.J. Stroud today? Are we expecting limitations? Is there any risk of re-injury? I don't know how much you paid attention to this one. It was kind of a small injury that skirted by throughout the week.
Yeah, he was somebody that was popular in our group chat because he was a late addition and people were wondering what's going on. They listed it as shoulder soreness, which makes sense. Those quarterbacks during practice, they're wearing the non-contact jersey. It's not like he was tackled, landed on it, and we're dealing with like an AC joint sprain type issue. This is somebody that throws the ball a lot, similar to like MLB pitchers. They have some soreness. It sounds like they rested them. If you play in a deep league, 2-quarterback super flex league, I do in some of those. I'm playing CJ Stroud.
Cool. And he's got his, outside of Noah Brown, he's got his full slew of pass catchers today, so nothing should limit him there. Chicago in Tampa Bay, we got some word that Chase Claypool might be a healthy scratch after just being bad at football and a lack of effort last week, but looks like he is going to be active and playing. Mike Evans got some rest days early in the week, but he'll be active as well. We finally get to see Travis Kelce this week in what should be a high-flying, a lot of offense, really fun game here. Kansas City Chiefs go to Jacksonville. Travis Kelce's active. Kadarius Toney's active. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is active. Adam, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was looking like he might be unlikely with an illness, undisclosed illness, but he's going to play today. Any concerns about any of these guys, CEH, Kadarius Toney, or Travis Kelce, or should they all be a full go?
Travis Kelce, absolutely full go. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it's kind of iffy. The illness thing's tough. That's really hard to predict. It's really hard to track those type of things just based on the varying symptoms of what could be involved in that type of illness. Kadarius Toney is always somebody I've been a little bit lower on just because it seems like his injury history always higher than normal likelihood that he has limited snaps or exited early if you flare something up. But I mean, Travis Kelce, you got to play Travis Kelce. We've been waiting too long. 1 week was way too long to wait for Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I think most people still, even with the possible injury concerns, still have Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews sitting atop those tight end rankings this week. In the Las Vegas at Buffalo game, Devontae Adams and Jimmy Garoppolo were both on the injury report early in the week, both off the injury report and active today. Now, this game, Tennessee at Los Angeles, or versus the Los Angeles Chargers, in Tennessee. Traylon Burks missed some early practices for personal reasons, but he's back. Tajay Spears is active, dealing with a groin injury, but DeAndre Hopkins is the one that we really want to dive into here, Adam. There was some speculation that DeAndre Hopkins could miss a handful of weeks. Alfredo and I, we kind of went back and forth. We do a show every day during the week. Early in the week, we talked about this guy as a potential buy low candidate in trades, and then we talked about how he's kind of the new T.Y. Hilton, never practices, but always suits up on Sunday. Then we were concerned that he might miss this week. Now he's active. How are we feeling about DeAndre Hopkins? Because we know he's going to draw 12 targets or so if he's active and healthy, but are we expecting a full-go DeAndre Hopkins today?
So I suspect we get a lot of DeAndre Hopkins questions today because, like you said, and there's some speculation about his ankle injury. Was it a high ankle sprain? I mean, by video, it's possible, but the fact that he's playing, I mean, almost makes me think it's maybe not. I mean, he certainly could play with a high ankle sprain, but it's not very likely given that injury and given the injury history data. We're going to be very direct, concise here with DeAndre Hopkins, where we have him ranked. We were talking about him pre-show. I'm okay with him in that wide receiver 3 tier. I think he has a safer floor than some of the guys in that area, like maybe a Gabe Davis, like a Terry McLaurin, maybe, who's expected to draw Patrick Surtain in a tough matchup versus Denver. I'd have him above those guys. I'm okay playing DeAndre Hopkins. It depends on your options, but I have him in that range and ahead of some of those guys that we talked about.
So I had him originally when I got word that he was active. I had him down in like the late wide receiver 30s, but after talking with you, Adam, you gave me a little bit more faith, so I've actually moved him up now. I had a Gabe Davis, I had a Michael Pittman, I had a Marquise Brown, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, Traylon Burks. So he's still kind of a risky wide receiver 3 for me, but there's a lot of guys hurt right now. Beggars can't be choosers. A lot of people are going to be plugging DeAndre Hopkins into their lineup today. That'll do it for the early slate, but in this late game, we got George Kittle off the injury report with a groin injury. One guy that I think we need to talk about in this matchup, though, with San Francisco and the Los Angeles Rams is Puka Nacua, everybody's darling, historic rookie debut, popped up with an oblique injury, and you could just hear cries all around the world that they might miss out on the guy that people were spending literally 100% of their fab on after week 1. Are we expecting any sort of snap count or anything like that today, Adam, from Puka Nacua?
This one's tough because this is like an oblique core injury. It's a very painful type injury. I don't know if people remember, but if you drafted early and you had Jalen Waddle, this is like this mystery midsection injury that Jalen Waddle was dealing with early in the season that caused him to miss about 3 to 4 weeks. It sounds like this is more on the minor side for Puka Nacua, which is good. Sean McVay saying that they expect him to play. But I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but kind of open it up for debate. Like if we're talking DeAndre Hopkins, somebody, or Puka Nacua, I don't know where you guys at. I'm kind of leading DeAndre Hopkins given this information, plus the matchup Puka Nacua playing the 49ers. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Puka Nacua for me is like a kind of a high-end wide receiver 3. This actually, I think, kind of flew under the radar because he didn't have a huge box score, but Tutu Atwell kind of slots in as like a desperation wide receiver 4. If you're really hurting, I could plug Tutu Atwell in. Alfredo, talk to us a little bit about this Los Angeles Rams wide receiver room, how we're feeling. Originally, I had Puka Nacua as my wide receiver 18 on the week, but this injury has caused him to slide a little bit for me.
Yeah, man. I think that a lot of people that, like you said, that bought into Puka Nacua on waivers might be a little disappointed this week. You've got a rookie who, what happens with these rookies a lot of times is that teams don't have film on them. They don't know how they're going to be used. And now all of a sudden you give the San Francisco 49ers, one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league, some film on Puka Nacua. He's going into a game now injured. This could be a totally different outlook for the Rams. I don't think that we can expect Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell to go out there and be top 15 wide receivers every week, especially as they start to go up against tougher defenses. So I've got Puka way lower. I've got him at wide receiver 36. I've got DeAndre Hopkins in my top 24.
All right, love it. Now, let's talk about Darren Waller again. I mean, it has just been a bloodbath for our high-end tight ends this year that we thought were like the safe picks. Like, go out and get these guys. It's going to be great. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Darren Waller. Well, it has been anything but great. Adam, talk to us a little bit about this hamstring injury. That was what plagued him last year, and it seems like he is downplaying it, saying that it's nothing like last year's injury. But are you concerned at all for Darren Waller in this afternoon, late afternoon's matchup?
So I think if we're looking at the glass at full here when we're talking about Darren Waller, this isn't something that like he re-aggravated a new injury. This is something that's just kind of been lingering. I tweeted out earlier this week that it seems like NFL reporters found out about the sciatic nerve, and it's like their new favorite thing to tweet about this
seriously.
week. If you have recurrent hamstring type injuries, that scar tissue can bind down on the muscle belly and the sciatic nerve that runs through the hamstring muscle. Anatomy lesson for people listening to the show today. I think Darren Waller, it's just going to be something that you're going to have to monitor. He's always at risk of leaving the game a little bit early, but this is something that he's managing all season long. We're still playing Darren Waller.
Yeah, completely with you. Darren Waller, just like Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce, even with some potential injury risk, slots in as a top 3 tight end for me this week. Another guy, we got Sterling Shepard coming back, which is good to see. Hopefully, was pretty limited in his debut, but hopefully we could see him a little bit more active off the injury report. James Conner, though, dealing with a calf injury throughout the week. How are we feeling about James Conner? I've heard a drumbeat that some people are playing Keontae Ingram as a desperation flex play, which, hey, don't get me wrong. I've got Keontae Ingram on some rosters, but I'm not even thinking about touching him unless Conner is inactive. So are you expecting Conner to just be his normal workhorse role today?
Short answer, yes. I mean, that Keontae Ingram drumbeat, that's been beaten since last season, and it's getting very dull. Like, it's not very, very good. I mean, I agree with what you're saying about Keontae Ingram, but James Conner, yeah, we're playing James Conner.
2 games I want to talk about in this late afternoon window still. We've got the New York Jets playing in Dallas. Breece Hall was the belle of the ball last week. Didn't look like himself, but still had some breakaway runs. He was limited throughout the week with a knee injury. Looks like he's probably going to be active this week. So are we going right back to the well? Adam, Alfredo, I want to hear from both of you on this with Breece Hall. Hopefully he's been taking some advice from Aaron Rodgers and listening to Dolphins mating and is ready to go for this afternoon. But what do you guys think?
So with Breece Hall, man, you and I have had this conversation throughout the week, on air, off air, and I'm the wet blanket in this scenario. Like, I'm still not ready to fully buy in on Breece Hall. Remember, he had 10 carries. 2 of them went, the long runs that we see there where he breaks it away. Other than that, he was averaging 2.2 yards per carry. That Jets offense is going to be in a bit of disarray. They're going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Like I said, for the Rams, I'm just going to keep being the wet blanket here in week 2. And I think everything's going to kind of return and regress back to the mean here. We're going to see a very different defensive opponent for the Jets this week with the Dallas Cowboys, who absolutely bottled up Saquon Barkley, a healthy Saquon Barkley, mind you. So I'm very, very nervous about it. And I'm curious to see what Adam thinks from his medical perspective.
kind of with Alfredo here. I mean, I know this is not a popular take. We had people doing full-on victory laps on Twitter after Breece Hall week one game, and it was sorry, Dave. No, but he looked good. He looked good. And if you drafted Breece Hall, this is very promising for his rest of the season outlook. But it was on a very limited workload, 11 total touches. The Jets have told us, and they continue to tell us, we're going to continue to ease Breece Hall in. Drop some numbers here. You know, when we're looking at players pre-ACL, post-ACL, Adrian Peterson, entire year sample, yards per attempt increased by 29% post-ACL. Adrian Peterson's a gold standard. We know about that. In one game, Breece Hall, yards per attempt increased by 126%. That is crazy efficiency. I expect that to come down a little bit, especially if he's having a limited workload. I want to wait and see a couple more weeks of Breece Hall before I'm plugging him in the lineups.
See, I've still got him as a back-end RB2. That home run ability is a part of his game, and that's why I still like Breece Hall. When you start looking at some of these other guys that might project for a little bit more volume, like, Isaiah Pacheco. I like Isaiah Pacheco. I like Damien Pierce. I like Joshua Kelly. I like Najee Harris, but they don't have that home run hitting ability that Breece Hall does. So he slots in as my RB16 this week, so I'm starting him as an RB2 pretty confidently, but I understand what you guys are saying. You know, he is coming off the ACL, and he's in a split backfield, and this matchup is a lot tougher up against Dallas. Last game I want to talk about in the late window, though, Washington Commanders playing out against the Denver Broncos. Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin were lifted from the injury report, looking like they should be completely good to go today. But Jerry Judy is a guy that anybody who has listened to this show throughout the week knows that Alfredo and I have concerns about Jerry Judy. You know, some people, if they drafted early, they were drafting him in the 3rd and 4th round, and they're probably thrilled to just plug him back into the lineup. Adam, we know these hamstrings linger. We know Jerry Judy especially. Like, the team doesn't hesitate to put him on the field, even if he's not 100%. Are we crazy to kind of be fading Jerry Judy if he's active today?
I mean, it depends. I like Jerry Judy. It depends on where you drafted him. I think most drafters probably used a high draft pick on him and lucked out that his hamstring injury didn't linger as much as it could have, and it was a shorter stint. I know Adam Schefter kind of reported later in the offseason, I should say, that they thought it was almost going to be a 6-week injury for Jerry Judy. He might pop up on IR. Turned out to not be that serious. When we look at wide receivers coming off of hamstring strains, if they miss 1 week, so they kind of heal up, get that rest they need, fantasy production pre versus post injury level is not that heavily infected. So I think Jerry Judy got that week rest, extra week rest, I should say, healthy. I'm okay playing Jerry Judy. He's in flex play for me.
All right, Alfredo, where do you have him? Because I've got him as wide receiver 52, which means like you got to be real desperate to put Jerry Judy in your lineup today.
Did you see Adam's face?
I did. I saw this, last year when Jerry Judy was dealing with the ankle injury and they were putting it in, and he was so far from 100%, unable to log a full practice until the very end of the week. I'm nervous about Jerry Judy today, and maybe this is just me being scorned from years of Jerry Judy injuries, and maybe I'm just overreacting here. Sell me on raising Jerry Judy up in my ranks today.
I mean, I've got him at wide receiver 38 right now because I think he's kind of on that borderline of being a wide receiver 3 for the week. I just think that there are other options who are healthy that might be better. But for me, I mean, you look at the matchup should be good. It's the Washington Commanders. It's not a good secondary. They got a ton of rookies back there. And if you've got a healthy Jerry Judy, he can produce. That's why, I mean, it's sort of a cop-out. I'm a little wishy-washy because everything is the stuff that I can't analyze. It's how healthy is he really going to be? So I lean a little bit more towards the side of caution. I'd rather not have a guy tweak something early in the game and be a 0 for the rest of the game. So if you really don't have a lot of choices, go ahead and play Jerry Judy as your wide receiver 3 or your flex. But if you have other guys, like the Nico Collins, Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, even his teammate, Cortland Sutton, I doubt you drafted both, but I'd rather be starting those guys. And I even have him right there by Zay Jones and Romeo Doubs, who I think I'd probably start over him just out of being cautious.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, we're talking all desperation wide receiver 4s and flex plays. So kind of pick your poison and hope for the best if you're in that range of your rankings. Last 2 guys I want to talk about, and I will throw both of these to you. Monday Night Football, Kendre Miller against Carolina, DJ Chark versus New Orleans in the same game here. Both guys right now, we don't really have a clear picture of. Kendry Miller, we're hoping he could make his debut, especially after Jamal Williams didn't look too good in his week 1 performance. And then DJ Chark coming off that hamstring injury. Do we have any word here, any expectation? If you are relying on Kendry Miller or DJ Chark, is it better to just go with maybe a safer option today?
Absolutely. If you're relying on both of those guys, you probably
lost anyway.
Yeah, you're in a deep league or you're very, very desperate. I mean, we wanted Kendry Miller season to happen with Alvin Kamara being suspended. His preseason has just been riddled with injuries. I don't have any faith in putting Kendry Miller in any of my lineups.
All right. Well, there you have it. We ran through all of the injuries today, which there were aplenty, and now we are going to rapid fire go through all of your start sit questions. Got a question here from Jason. Hey, guys, for FFPC, Dak Prescott versus the New York Jets or Daniel Jones versus Miami? I'm also starting Olave and Evans as wide receiver. Then pick 4 of my 2 running backs and 2 flexes. So first things first, let's break this down. Dak Prescott or Daniel Jones? I prefer Daniel Jones here.
That's actually Mac Jones.
Oh, Mac Jones.
That's Mac Jones versus Miami.
Yeah, I should have known that. Dak Prescott then for me. I have Dak Prescott ahead of Mac Jones. What about you, Alfredo?
Dak.
And then
Dak
pick
over
4
Mac.
here. Dak over Mac. Adam, I see you nodding a long stamp of approval on that one. All right, and then pick 4. So we need 2 running backs and 2 flex between A.J. Dillon, Joshua Kelly, Breece Hall, Gabe Davis, Jamal Williams, Hunter Henry, JSN, Kendrick Bourne. Yeah, there's a lot there. For me, it's I think you listed them in the order that, well, you can only do 2 running backs. Oh, and 2 flexes. So in the order that they are listed, I'm going to A.J. Dillon, Joshua Kelly, Breece Hall, and Gabe Davis here.
I'm going to go with Dillon, Kelly, Davis, and Williams.
Jamal Williams over Breece Hall. All right.
Yep.
All right.
I know it's not pretty, man, but I think there's just going to be more opportunity, and he's not going up against the Dallas Cowboys this week with Zach Wilson at quarterback.
Good point. Next question here from Unite Santini. Hopkins, Evans, Jahan Dotson, Romeo Doubs, Breece Hall, pick 2 in PPR. This is a tough one. We're going to see a lot of DeAndre Hopkins questions, a lot of Romeo Doubs questions, and a lot of Breece Hall questions today, I'm assuming. Alfredo, who do you have on this one?
Hopkins and Evans, and it's by quite a bit. I'd say Dotson is the next guy down, the 3rd guy, but he's a little bit of a teardrop.
Adam, where do you go with this one? Are you agreeing with Alfredo?
I kind of like Jahan Dotson. It just feels like this might be a big Jahan Dotson week. So if you're looking for a little bit more upside, I'm okay putting him in there over Hopkins or Evans. But I think those are the top 3 for me.
Yeah, and I got Breece ahead of Hopkins. I know that is not going to agree with the panel here, but I'm a little bit concerned about Hopkins coming off this ankle injury that could limit him, and Breece Hall look good. You know, you drafted him and plugging him into your lineup for the home run ability, so I think there's going to be a lot of butting heads on DeAndre Hopkins and Breece Hall questions today. Next question here from the same gentleman asking Puka or Mostert. This is another tough one. Devon Achane is back, so we might see Mostert's role dwindle a little bit. Resident Miami fan here, Alfredo.
Is he back? Or is he just finally not a healthy scratch?
I mean, it was a shoulder injury that held him back. Was he a healthy scratch last week? Because he was limited in practice leading up to that.
There was like some weird verbiage coming from Mike McDaniel, who he does what he like normally does. He says a lot of something, but not actually anything when he was asked why Devon Achane didn't play. I'm still going to lean Raheem Mostert over Puka Nacua here.
All right. I'm with you guys as well. That, like I said, Puka was high on him early in the week, but the oblique injury has scared me off a little bit. Ken Walker or Zay Flowers in PPR? I'm going Walker here pretty easily, even though I do love me some Zay Flowers.
Yeah, you got to use the government name, Zay Flipping Flowers, but it's a Ken Walker. Kenjamin.
Kenjamin. Morning, y'all. Season long, would you drop Tank Bigsby or a chain for Tajay Spears? Yes. Tajay Spears looked very, very good last week, and I mean, it's a little tough with Tank Bigsby, but if you can drop one of the 2, I'm easily dropping a chain for Spears.
This one's interesting to me because I kind of feel like all these guys are on the same plane. I think that we just happen to see a lot more Tajay Spears. The fact that Tank Bigsby was so bad and they kept giving him touches means that they have a lot of faith in him. That's a tough one, but yeah, I do think that you could. I guess you can. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the offenses for these other 2 teams are going to be better. Just keep holding.
Really? See, I prefer Spears
Long
with
term,
what we saw from some week one. I mean, he was getting almost 50% of the snaps and running routes downfield and getting a lot of work week
I
one.
know
So
he
I
was. I
prefer
know.
Spears ahead of A-Chain pretty easily. Especially, I mean, we haven't even seen he was a healthy scratch. Well, Jeff Wilson was on IR. So, I mean, when Wilson comes back, then it just muddies up that Miami backfield even more. It seems pretty clear cut right now that Spears and Henry are splitting the load in
Yeah,
Tennessee.
you convinced me. Go ahead, drop Devon A-Chain for Tajay Spears.
All right, we got Munzie here asking us a question. Gross one for you. There are
Gross.
no gross questions. We are in week 2 and everybody's
Only
injured,
gross
man.
people.
We get it. I'm firing up Justice Hill in leagues. I'm firing up Roshan Johnson. Injuries are plaguing us all. Don't feel bad about it. Aaron Jones is out, and I already starting Javonte Williams. So need one between Roshan Johnson, Samaje Perine, and Tajay Spears. Am I crazy for going Roshan here? I think that Deontay Foreman inactivity means that we're going to see a heavy dose of Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson today, who looked fantastic in week 1. I'd go Roshan ahead of Perine and Spears.
I've got Perine highest out of all of them, just because I think he'll continue to get more of the touches. Watching that Denver Broncos film, Javonte Williams looks okay, but he doesn't seem like he really trusts his knee quite yet. A lot of indecision while he's running, a lot of dancing. Samaje Perine still looked really explosive, and I love the way he was getting used in the receiving game. So I'm going to lean Perine.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge gap for me, but Roshan Johnson is my RB30 and Perine is my RB33. So give a slight edge to Roshan after I bumped him up with the Deontay Foreman scratch this morning. Tyler here is asking us start 2 between Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, Javonte Williams, and Joshua Kelly. We haven't talked about Joshua Kelly much yet. We talked about the Austin Eckler inactivity and just kind of skimmed over that. Am I just totally an idiot for sipping the Kool-Aid here? I've got Joshua Kelly inside my top 20. I mean, there are a lot of work in this Chargers offense goes to the running backs. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. Obviously, there's no replicating the Austin Eckler role. Austin Eckler is great at what he does, but I've got Kelly down for 22 to 25 touches today.
I would say in most scenarios, you're probably starting Kelly, but those scenarios typically don't involve Joe Mixon and David Montgomery, who have good matchups this week, and both of those guys are top 15 running backs this week. So while Joshua Kelly, for me, he's a top 24 running back, those other two guys, I don't think you can sit them.
Yeah, and I am with you for the record. Maybe. I have Mixon and Montgomery ahead of Kelly, but it's the first Joshua Kelly question we had, and we did kind of gloss over that earlier. Joshua Kelly's my RB18 this week. I like the matchup, like the expected workload, so I'm firing up Joshua Kelly wherever I can. Like I said, I think if you've got a shaky wide receiver 3 in the flex and you can put Joshua Kelly in over him, I think you do that. How about Deshaun Watson or Anthony Richardson? 4-point passing touchdown, 6-point rushing touchdown. And then between Ramondre Stevenson and Javonte Williams. Alfredo, how high do you have Anthony Richardson ranked this week? I haven't taken a look at your rankings yet this morning, but Anthony Richardson is my QB9.
That's because I keep my rankings locked up in a safe. I got Anthony Richardson at quarterback 11 this week. And honestly, I don't care if it was 4-point passing touchdown or 6 passing touchdown. Anthony Richardson showed he can run this offense, and the rushing yards are going to matter a lot for him, and the rushing touchdowns are going to matter a lot for him. And Deshaun Watson, I'm not going to say it's the beginning of the end, but he does not look like the Deshaun Watson we remember. And I think that was the big fear. Out of the running backs, I'm going to lean Ramondre Stevenson. I'm not the biggest Ramondre guy, especially with Zeke being there, but the Miami Dolphins cannot stop anyone from running the football. So, yeah, let's go Richardson over Watson and Stevenson over Javonte.
That's exactly where I am. What about you, Adam? Do you have a strong take on either of these?
Not a strong take. I agree with what you guys are saying. I think that's the right way to go.
All right. Next question here is from Andy and Renee, sharing a YouTube account. Love to see that. Need one running back in full PPR. Zach Moss, Gus Edwards, or Tajay Spears. And this is where a lot of people are at early in the season, really scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
We are in mid-season form in week 2. I love it. So
I guess let's talk. We haven't talked about, obviously J.K. Dobbins is on IR. We mentioned that earlier. Who do you prefer today, Alfredo, between Gus Edwards and Justice Hill?
I'm going to lean Gus Edwards just because I feel like we have seen it so many more times before with Gus Edwards. He's the bigger back. I mean, like we've seen it from him before. I think that's as simple as I can put it. I know Justice Hill got the touchdowns last week, but let's not chase the touchdowns. He also had 9 yards on 8 carries. I know some of that can get, muddied up by goal line runs, but I'd rather go with Gus Edwards in this.
Yeah, I'm looking at my rankings right now, and I have Gus Edwards.
Out of these three, though.
Yeah, out of these
Sorry,
three.
out of these three, I'm going to go Zach Moss, who was my
right.
start of the week. I've got Zach Moss as my running back 33 on the week.
Yeah, I've got Gus Edwards at 37 and Zach Moss at 38. So both, kind of desperation plays here. Spears is a little bit behind both of them. Adam, do you have a strong take between Gus Edwards or Zach Moss so we can try to help Andy and Renee out here?
I think those are the two guys I would debate. Zach Moss coming off the injury. I know Deion Jackson did not look good, but I'd want to see something from Zach Moss. We have a little bit more of a track record with Gus Edwards and his involvement in the Ravens offense with J.K. Dobbins out. So I would be leaning a little bit more towards Gus Edwards.
All right. Fair enough. That's a tough one. Best of luck there. We got Sully's 360 asking us Lamar or Tua in point per first downs. I assume points per first down are only rushing first downs. It's typically, I've never heard of points per passing first down. So, I mean, maybe it is, but I assume when I see points per first down, it is rushing. But really, I mean, unless it's a full point, which really swings scoring a bit, usually first downs only count for half a point, but, kind of spitballing here. Alfredo, Lamar Jackson didn't look good last week. Tua Tagovailoa looked like the MVP last week. Was that enough, what we saw last week, for you to put Tua ahead of Lamar in your rankings?
Pay no attention to the Dolphins helmet behind me. But no, I actually don't think that Tua Tagovailoa should be started over Lamar, and that may bite me in the butt. Tua's 4-0 against Bill Belichick, and this may be a good football game, and it may be a good football win, but he normally does not produce those video game numbers against Bill Belichick. They like to slow the game down. This is going to be one of those knockout, drag-out fights, whereas Lamar Jackson, this is Ravens
He's
Bengals,
torched Cincinnati before. He has torched Cincinnati in the past.
He's got a good track record against them. This is Ravens Bengals. This could be an all-out shootout with two offenses both trying to get back on track. I think this could be a very exciting game.
Yeah, I try not to be too overreactive to week one, and I am just kind of throwing week one out the window. Looked rusty, new offense, all that, but Lamar Jackson is my QB3 this week. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes are the only quarterbacks I had ranked against him, or ranked ahead of him. So really, I'm not trying to put too much water into what we saw in week one. I think Lamar Jackson can bounce back in a big way today. Got another question here from Andy and Renee. Need two wide receivers in full PPR: Raheed Shaheed, Jahan Dotson, Tyler Lockett, and Michael Thomas. This is the same person that was just asking us about Zach Moss or Gus Edwards. Deep in the weeds week one. Maybe this is an 18-team league or something like that, but who are we going with here? I like Tyler Lockett and Michael Thomas pretty. Actually, I got to look through my rankings. That's what my gut's telling me, but I got to actually look through my rankings on this one.
I'm going Lockett and Dotson, and actually pretty strongly there.
Yeah, I do have Dotson. Looking at my rankings right now, about 4 spots ahead. Lockett is the one that is above everybody, and then I do have Dotson ahead of Michael Thomas, so that's how I do it as well. Adam, I know you've said that you like Jahan Dotson this week. Guessing that's kind of where you go as well, or did you see enough from Michael Thomas in week one that you're putting him ahead of any of these guys?
Nope, I am a Jahan Dotson hype man on this show. I'm claiming that title right now. That's my title. I'm changing my Twitter.
Well, Dave has a shirt. Do you have a shirt? If you don't have a shirt,
Jahan Dotson shirt.
It.
That's actually how it all started. Joey Wright buying me a Jahan Dotson shirt on air a few months ago. All right, we got another one here.
Or deny that I do or do not.
Half point PPR. Need one between Dalvin Cook, Roschon Johnson, Samaje Perine, Cortland Sutton, and Marquise Brown.
Yikes.
Got to go to the rankings because I know I have all these guys kind of jumbled together, and I can spit something off the top of my head, but I'd rather look at the process that I've spent hours poring over throughout the week. Alfredo, you help us out quickly though. Who do you have?
I hate it so much. Let me take a look here as well. Off the top of my head, I'm leaning Sutton, and yeah, that's what my rankings say. Sutton by a hair.
Yeah, I've got Sutton.
Oh no, I'm
Roschon.
sorry, I lied. It's Samaje. Samaje is the highest in my rankings for half PPR flex.
Yeah, I mean, I got all of these guys jumbled together, and at that point, the difference between RB30 and RB38, where Roschon Johnson, Samaje Perine, and Dalvin Cook all fall into, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
I think the half PPR is what makes me lean more towards running back here.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Roshan was pretty involved in the passing game. So maybe we see that again, especially if this game can get out of hand for the second week in a row. I'm leaning Roshan, but ugh, really, really tough one. Adam, who
You're
are you
such
going
a
with out of this
homer.
bunch? I mean,
I
I'm
mean,
more of a
I don't
Roshan
want.
guy than a Herbert guy. I will say I'm not starting Herbert in nearly as many leagues as I'm starting Roshan this week.
I really don't want to confuse Dan, but if I'm cold on Breece Hall, then I'm going to be a little bit warmer on Dalvin Cook. I mean, you could see a ton of dump offs in this game. I know it's a tough matchup with Dallas's defense, but I'd be leaving Dalvin Cook just because I think he sees the lion's share of that workload.
All right, Dan, there you have it. Roll some dice and hope for the best. Question here from Dane saying, "Good morning, Damien Pierce or Rashad White?" I prefer Pierce pretty easily. Rashad White looked like doo-doo last week. I don't want to start him unless I'm really, really desperate.
Yeah, I'm going Damien Pierce here. And also, we've got Mike Boone was a healthy scratch, I believe. So you've got
Oh.
Damien Pierce and just Devin Singletary playing today. So yeah, lean into Damien Pierce.
And we talked about it on Friday's show. Bobby Slowick came out and said we need to get Damien Pierce more involved. It was kind of weird seeing how little he was involved week one, but hopefully that changes and we see some of that preseason usage leak into week 2. Francis here. Hey, folks, sit 2 in half PPR. Gus Edwards, Samaje Perine, Jackson Smith-Njigba, or Drake London. We haven't talked about Drake London much, which I'm kind of surprised. A lot of people drafted him to be a top 20, top 24 wide receiver. I am fading Drake London hard in my rankings. Again, don't want to overreact too hard to week 1, but yuck, that Falcons offense was gross.
Yeah, not awesome. I'm staying away from him this week just out of being overly cautious. I talked about not wanting to get a 0. He's a guy that could give you a 0. You don't hope for it, and it's maybe not that likely, but we saw it can happen. So, I think I'm leaning towards. I hate to say it, the running backs, each of them, Gus and Pirine in this instance.
Starting both, because he's asking sit. Just want to make sure you're starting Gus and Perine, right?
Yes, starting them and sitting the receivers.
All right. And I'm sitting Perine and London here. I do prefer JSN a little bit, but that's a tough one. Adam, any concerns about JSN's lingering injury, or does that seem like a thing of the past? It seemed like, they were talking about him possibly missing 4 weeks and seemed ready to go.
Yeah, no, I think that's a thing of the past. So I wouldn't have any injury concerns about Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Cool. All right, we got another question here from Dane saying 6-point passing touchdowns. I have Watson and Richardson with Daniel Jones on waivers. Should I pick up Daniel Jones? Who do I drop? No, I don't think there's any reason to stash. I don't even like having
Richardson.
2 quarterbacks, let alone 3.
Richardson.
Yeah, just ride it out with Richardson. I think Richardson's a guy, you don't even need a QB2. You can just plug him in every single week until we have any reason not to. Half PPR, need an Eckler replacement. Joshua Kelly, Tyler Algier, or Brian Robinson. Algier and Brian Robinson were my starts of the week when we were talking earlier in the week, but I prefer Joshua Kelly to both of them.
Yep, same.
Bill asking here, I need 2 between Terry McLaurin, Puka Nacua, and Jerry Judy. We already talked about it. I know that I'm much lower on Judy than the consensus, but I'm benching Judy out of this bunch.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you, but I'd love to hear from the guy who actually has medical expertise on this, considering all 3 of these guys.
All 3 of these guys are injured. Yeah, right.
I'm playing Jerry Judy. That was going to be my lock to play for this week. I just, looking at the injury data, I just don't think there's going to be a sharp decline. The fact that he missed an extra week and was able to heal up. And I watched a lot of that Denver game because I'm a big Marvin Mims guy, and we are mourning in silence over his performance in week 1. That offense looked like it was lost without its number 1 wide receiver, and I think that's Jerry Judy. So I would definitely be playing Jerry Judy, and then I'd flip a coin between McLaurin and Nacua at this point.
That's a tough one. This next question is a tough one as well, Alfredo. These were both starts of the weeks for us on Thursday's show with Matt Waldman, Dalton Kincaid, or Hunter Henry. I think we like both of them, but I'm going to give the edge to Dalton Kincaid, who looked great in his week 1 outing.
I'm going to go Hunter Henry here. I've got him as the tight end 12. Miami, just for years, has not been good at covering the tight end. And New England really doesn't have much else in that receiving core. So, yeah, let's go Hunter Henry here.
Especially if Devontae Adams can't play, that would open up even more opportunity. Devontae Parker, right? So that's a tough one. I mean, really, these are all of the fringe tight end ones where really you're just hoping one of these guys can stumble into the end zone
Yeah.
and save his outing. Question here from Zach saying, I need one running back and one wide receiver in half PPR between Ezekiel Elliott and Jalen Warren, and then Tyler Lockett, Jahan Dotson, and Zay Jones. I know who I'm going with the receiver here. It's Tyler Lockett for me pretty easily, but Zeke and Warren, I'm going to have to take a peek at my rankings because that is a tough one.
Yeah, at running back, I've got Jalen Warren ahead of Ezekiel Elliott, but just by like a couple spots. If it's half PPR, oh man,
Zeke saw
half
7
PPR.
targets last week.
Yeah, you know
7
what?
targets.
I'm gonna say, I think, and I don't feel good about it, but I'm gonna go Zeke over Warren, and then I'm gonna go Lockett over Dotson here.
That's exactly where I'm at, yeah. Adam, do you want to give us a stamp of approval on this, or are you going another way with any of these guys? I know you said you're the Jahan Dotson guy on the show. Are you playing Jahan Dotson ahead of Tyler Lockett?
Yes, I am.
All
But
right.
I'm good with the Zeke. So, Zach, we helped you out with Zeke. All three said Zeke. But I could eat some crow next week, but I'm going Jahan Dotson pretty high this week.
I mean, I get it, man. He looked fantastic. There's no reason not to like Jahan Dotson. Question here from Mockingbird saying, good morning, football guys and gals. Justice Hill or Gus Edwards today? We talked about this a little bit. I'm Team Justice Hill. You guys are both Team Gus Edwards. I guess we will see at the end of the day who was right and who was wrong. Joshua Kelly or Breece Hall. I have these guys back-to-back in my rankings, but I do prefer Breece Hall. But, man, I got to say, Adam was scaring me a little bit. I have Breece Hall one spot ahead, but I think throughout the course of this show, I may have been sold to move Kelly ahead of him.
Stick to your guns, Dave. Stick to your guns.
Not if your guns are stupid. No.
Najee Harris or Breece Hall. This is a tough one. You want to go with the volume and inefficiency, or the lack of volume and the possible efficiency? I think in PPR, I prefer Breece here because we saw Najee wasn't really involved in the passing game. Almost all the passing down work was going to Jalen Warren. So I think PPR is the difference maker for me here. I think in a standard league, I might prefer Najee, but in PPR, I think I prefer Breece.
Yeah, I've got Najee over Breece. I've got Najee around running back 20 for the week, and Breece Hall running back 30 on the week. So Najee
running back 30. All right, we're not seeing eye to eye on that one.
We're
Daiquiri
not.
Man here with his awoo every single week, every single show.
Patented.
Love to see it. Thank you for supporting Daiquiri Man. Not a sidewalk. Asking us 1 point PPR. Tyler Algier, Rashad White, Joshua Kelly. Need 2. Kelly and Algier easily for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Kelly and Algier. We also Cordero Patterson, also a healthy scratch for the Falcons. So
Oh, good to know.
Kelly and Algier over Rashad White, who honestly I think is about to start losing snaps to Sean Tucker pretty soon.
So we thought that J stood for Joker, but does it stand for Genactive? Is that what that J meant?
Oh, get off the stage.
Tomahawk here asking Khalil Herbert or Joshua Kelly. Kelly again.
Kelly.
Yeah. There's not going to be, unless you're asking like Joshua Kelly or Tony Pollard, we're going to be answering Joshua Kelly for a lot of these questions. I mean, he's up there for both of us. Good offense, good matchup, good opportunity. Good morning, y'all. Full PPR, Kyle Pitts or Luke Musgrave? Yuck, yuck, yuck.
Pitts.
Yeah, I'm going Pitts.
I know
I don't feel good about it.
No, I know there's excitement about Musgrave and there's like a lack of excitement for Pitts, but I mean, guys, we can't overreact. It's week 2. You drafted Kyle Pitts for a reason. Let's keep letting him play.
We got Donk in the chat saying Jerick McKinnon or Roshan in PPR. I'm going Roshan. I mean, it seems like the Chiefs are just kind of content keeping McKinnon in bubble wrap until the season is, getting towards the playoffs. Am I crazy for thinking that? That was my take last week, and I, kind of looked good, and maybe it'll look good again this week. I don't know. I think we don't see a lot of Jerick McKinnon until like week 12 or 13.
It's kind of just the ugly one. I know this is probably not what Donk wants to hear, but go with your vibes on this. I've got them back to back in my rankings, with Jerick McKinnon 1 spot ahead of Roshan. But honestly, that was before the Deontay Foreman thing, so I think I'll probably move Roshan Johnson ahead of him. So Roshan.
I'm there as well. Garrett Wilson or Mark Andrews in my flex. Easily going Mark Andrews here. Garrett Wilson.
Andrews.
Pour one out. Poor guy. Hate to see it. Zach Moss, Juju Smith-Schuster, or P. Ryan.
P. Ryan.
There it is. All right.
Hey,
Woo, we got
phonetic.
it.
Phonetics.
I think we talked about this one a little bit earlier. Zach Moss. I think we're all in agreement on that one, right?
I've got Samaje Perine actually a little bit ahead, but I don't hate the Zach Moss call.
Drop Jalen Warren for Roshan Johnson. That's a tough one. talking rest of season outlook, that's a really tough one.
I don't think we're ever. So I'll concede to you, Dave. We could see a point where Roschon Johnson takes over the backfield for Chicago. I don't think that we will see a point where Jaylen Warren becomes the back for the Steelers.
Good
That's
point.
the deciding factor here.
Yeah. First round draft capital does insulate some sort of volume for running backs. Full pick PPR, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, Jahan Dotson, or Jerry Judy. I think we're finally all in agreement on a Jahan Dotson one, right?
Dotson,
there it is. All right. Sorry, I'm skimming through some of these because a few people have been asking the same question multiple times, and I don't want to keep pulling them up over and over. Nico Collins or Kenneth Walker? Kenneth Walker, easily for me.
Kenjamin.
Dak or Tua? I think we're all going Tua here.
Yep.
Half point PPR, please choose one. Michael Pittman, Jahan Dotson, Tyler Lockett, or Mike Williams. We've answered versions of this question enough that I think Adam is going with Jahan Dotson, and you and I are both going with Tyler Lockett, correct, Alfredo?
Correct.
Alrighty. Justin Fields and DJ Moore. I mean, I think you got to at least start him this week. Fields is the top 7 quarterback for me. DJ Moore is inside my top 24. If there's one,
I don't know how many guys you have better than them on your roster, considering where you drafted them.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I think you got to go back to the well this week, as hard as it is. McKinnon or Roschon? We answered this one. We're going Roschon. How are we dealing with the Packers and Bears backfields today? Start A.J. Dillon, start Khalil Herbert, and start Roschon Johnson, right?
Sure, start all 3 of them. Why not? Now, if I got to put it in order, A.J. Dillon is for me is a must start. Herbert and Roschon is kind of like if you really need them to. I'm not starting them if I don't have to.
Yeah. Dubs or Lockett? I know I'm going Lockett here.
Lockett.
How about you guys?
Lockett.
Half point PPR, Miles Sanders, Raheem Mostert, Samaje Perine, or Gus Edwards. This is the first Miles Sanders question we've had all day. Kind of surprised to see that. I thought some people would be panicking a little bit, but
I'll stick with Sanders. So Sanders and Mostert, yeah.
Yep, that's how I've got it as well. James Cook or David Montgomery? David Montgomery, easily for me. Top 12 running back in my rankings this week.
That's really close. I have them back to back. I've got David Montgomery as number 13. James Cook is number 14. What worries me is that Detroit has said, and the reports coming out this morning, they want to use more Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery did not look good last week, except for the one touchdown run that he had, like a bowling ball up the middle. Yep. James Cook is getting a lot of those high value touches. So,
all right, I got my wife in the chat here, and if I don't answer this one, I'm sleeping on the couch tonight. Can only pick one: Breece Hall, Isaiah Pacheco, or Tyler Algier. I have Breece Hall in my rankings, but you guys have scared me a little bit, and I do really like Isaiah Pacheco's matchup this week. Isaiah Pacheco is I've got Pacheco and Breece Hall very, very close in my rankings. I think you guys have scared me on Breece Hall enough that I'd go Pacheco out of these 3.
I have the 3 of them all within 4 picks. I've got Pacheco at running back 27, Algier at running back 28, Breece Hall at running back 30. So Pacheco, I guess, by default.
Yeah, I'm either in trouble for not answering this question, or I'm in trouble for answering the question wrong. So
just abstain.
Damned if I do that. Adam, this one's on you. Make the decision for us, Adam.
Isaiah Pacheco, Mrs. Kluge, and if I am wrong, you will take my place on the show next week. All right? I'm risking it. I'm risking it.
Wow, putting his job on the line. Wow, job on the line for Isaiah Pacheco. Didn't think that's where we'd be, but here we are. Only a few minutes left. Let's try to rapid fire through these. Hunter Henry or Luke Musgrave? I'm going Henry here.
Henry.
DJ Moore or Michael Pittman? Oh, or Jelly. That's a fun way to say Josh Kelly.
Yeah. Oh man, half PPR, Josh Kelly. Yeah.
Jelly. Yeah,
I think I like DJ Moore ahead of Josh Kelly, but no, of course I don't know. I have to look through I haven't really merged my rankings together in Flex, but
you said rapid.
Start 2, Rashad White, Jamal Williams, or AJ Dillon. I'm going AJ Dillon here.
And Jamal.
We did talk about Jerry Judy, and we have a very split panel. Adam loves him. I hate him. Alfredo's, yeah, why not? If you got him, start him. Love the pod. 2 leagues, both full PPR. Puka Nacua, DeAndre Hopkins, Najee Harris, Josh Kelly.
Okay. So Nacua or Lockett? Lockett.
Yeah, Lockett.
I think he's given us his lineup and saying Nacua or Lockett. Lockett.
Yeah, going Lockett there. Full PPR, Josh Kelly or Rashad White. Josh Kelly.
Jelly.
Josh Kelly.
Jelly. Throw in your jelly. Full PPR, Tyler Algier or Kyron Williams. I'm going Algier here. I don't know. That Rams backfield scares me. Pick 2 of 3 in standard: Damien Pierce, Brian Robinson, or David Montgomery. I'm benching Robinson out of the bunch.
Yep, same.
Choose one: Jerry Judy, Dubs, or Gabe Davis.
Ooh, that one caught me by surprise. I think it's Gabe Davis. I've got Gabe Davis as wide receiver 37 and Jerry Judy as wide receiver 38.
See, and I've got Dubs and Gabe Davis right next to each other. Dubs looked really good last week, and with no Christian Watson and no Aaron Jones, I think he could easily see an 8 to 10 target game. That's a tough one.
I've got Dubs at wide receiver 41, so like they're all back to back to back essentially.
Yeah, that's a really, really tough one.
We didn't
Kelly or Mixon. I think this is where we do go Mixon.
Mixon.
How would you feel? Oh, sorry. Not a question. How would you rank these players in PPR? DeAndre Hopkins, Puka Nacua, Josh Kelly, Nico Collins, Elijah Moore. Joshua Kelly sits atop the list, then DeAndre Hopkins, I believe, then Puka Nacua, then Nico Collins. Or do we put Elijah Moore ahead of Nico Collins with no Amari? I think so.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper's probably leaning to not playing on Monday night, so I'd put Elijah Moore a little bit higher.
I actually think Puka's at the bottom of that list for me.
Really? Hater. Sipping that haterade, Alfredo.
Samaje
Perine or Roshan Johnson. We've answered this one a few times. A lot of people are dealing with this one. Alfredo is Samaje, and I have Roshan. Happy football Sunday. Need 2 in my Superflex spot. Joshua Kelly, Tyler Lockett, Kenny Pickett, or Zay Flowers. I think you got to go with the quarterback here, right? Right?
Yeah, Pickett.
And are we going Kelly over Lockett? I think so.
Yeah, if it's half PPR, sure.
Yeah. All right. How would you rank D-Hop, Elijah Moore, Joshua Kelly, Puka in PPR? I think we just had this question, right?
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson or Jordan Love? Anthony Richardson, easily.
Anthony Richardson.
Easily. Geno Smith and his O-line or Brock Purdy? Wow, this is an interesting question.
How do you start the O-line? Points per...
Well, I'm just saying a bad O-line. I get what he's saying.
I'm being silly. Brock Purdy.
I have Brock Purdy ahead. Yeah.
I do too.
I think it's kind of crazy that we're already there in week 2, but we are. Cortland Sutton or Jerry Judy? I have Sutton ahead of Judy.
I do too, but I actually, the more we keep talking about it, I don't feel good about it. Sutton without Judy still didn't perform all that much. And look at Adam. He's just like, yep, Judy.
I think Adam's going to make me eat crow, man. I'm fading Judy, but I'm feeling bad about it at this point. DeAndre Hopkins or Dobbs? I've got Dobbs, but I think you guys have Hopkins. You've
got Romeo Dobbs over DeAndre Hopkins?
No Christian Watson and no Aaron Jones. Like, he is the only guy that's going to be catching passes there. He saw his targets per route run, yards per route run last week were absurd. 47% snap share, and he saw 5 targets and 2 touchdowns. If we expect 100% snap share, blah, 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 4 touchdowns today. No, I'm kidding, but there is going to be a good opportunity for Dubs. Jerick McKinnon or Roshan. We've had this one a few times too. I'm leaning Roshan just because I'm worried about McKinnon's early season usage. Deshaun Watson or Jared Goff. I've got Goff here.
Goff, my start of the week at quarterback.
Yep, like that one. Elijah Moore or Kenneth Walker. K9.
Walker.
Easily. Gallup, Higbee, or Rashee Rice in the flex. Ugh. Tight end premium. I think tight end premium, I might go Higbee. Yeah. Quentin Johnson, Rashee Rice, Luke Musgrave, or Drake London. Ugh.
I guess I'm going London.
Yeah, this is the one I guess I'd start London. He's got a higher ceiling than the rest. Quentin Johnson is nowhere near a starting lineup for now. We only got a minute left. Let's try to run through these. Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love, or Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson pretty easily for all of us. Terry McLaurin, Jerry Judy, Puka Nacua. Got to sit one. I'm sitting McLaurin out of the bunch.
I'm sitting Puka.
Adam, finish this off, and then we'll end the show. Who are you sitting out of these 3?
Puka Nacua.
Alrighty. There you have it. We got through as many as we can, but man, it is tough to keep up with all these. So next week, try to log in as early as possible at 9:30 on the dot. Start dropping those questions in so we can get them in as early as possible. We will be back next week. Good luck to all of you in your matchups today. Before we sign off, Alfredo, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Yep, you can find me on Twitter and anywhere else at the Pretend GM.
Adam, let everyone know where they can find you and all your work.
You can find me on Twitter at @therealadam_H. Head over to Footballguys, subscribe. We got injuries coming out every single Tuesday where we talk about these guys, give you guys an early update for the waiver wire.
And I have a
Oh,
feeling we'll have some more injury updates tonight because that is what happens on
Oh.
Sundays. Players get hurt, just an unfortunate part of the game. So be sure to tune in tonight, or log in, I should say, at footballguys.com and see everything Adam is working on, keeping you up to date with injuries. A great follow on Twitter for immediate actionable advice as well. You can find me on Twitter at Dave Kluge. You can find the Football Guys account at Football Guys, and of course youtube.com/Football Guys. Be sure to subscribe and spend your Sunday mornings with us. We got our show now, and then earlier in the day we've got Jagger, Joey, and Jeff bringing you even more start sit content. So thank you so much for tuning in. You can check out the Football Guys Fantasy Football Show during the week. You can check this show out on Sunday mornings, and we will see you soon.